Chapter 1. A Rainy Morning in London. The sky over London was grey, thick with clouds, and a fine mist of rain fell steadily over the city. People hurried along the sidewalks with their umbrellas and coats, but Evelyn Hart walked at her usual calm pace. Her long brown hair was tucked neatly under her wool beret, and her eyes, green and observant, took in the city's details as if seeing them for the first time. Evelyn was 29, a successful project manager for a historic preservation firm. She was known for her attention to detail and calm under pressure. But this morning, as she passed the familiar brick buildings near South Bank, something felt different. It wasn't the rain, nor the crowds. It was a letter. The letter had arrived 3 days ago, written on yellowed parchment in an unfamiliar hand. It bore no return address, only a wax seal with a crest she didn't recognize. Inside were just a few short lines. Evelyn Hart, your grandmother's estate awaits. Hartwood Manor has not forgotten you. The key is yours now. Come at once. At first she thought it was a mistake. Her grandmother, Margaret Hart, had died when Evelyn was only a child. Her mother had never spoken much of their family estate. But the letter stirred something inside her, a quiet sense of belonging she didn't understand. Now, standing at the train station with the letter folded neatly in her coat pocket, Evelyn felt a mix of excitement and unease. The train to Ashmere, a small town she had never visited, was already waiting. She stepped aboard. This was how the story began. Chapter 2. The Train to the Past. The countryside blurred past the train window. Evelyn sat alone in a compartment, the hum of the train soothing her nerves. She held the letter in one hand, tracing the embossed crest again and again. She thought of her childhood, of the stories her grandmother had told her before bedtime. They were always strange tales about secret gardens, hidden rooms, and voices in the wind. At the time, Evelyn thought they were just fairy tales, but now she wasn't so sure. After nearly 2 hours, the train pulled into Ashmere Station. It was a small, quiet place, with ivy-covered signs and a single stone platform. The sky had cleared slightly, and the air smelled of earth and pine. Waiting for her was a woman in her 60s, with silver hair tied in a low bun. She wore a dark green coat and held a sign with Evelyn's name on it. "Miss Hart?" she asked with a kind smile. "Yes," Evelyn said, adjusting her bag. "That's me. I'm Mrs. Willow. I've looked after Hartwood Manor since before you were born. I'm so glad you've come." They drove together through narrow, winding roads lined with trees until they reached a large iron gate. Beyond it, hidden among tall oaks, stood a grand old house, Hartwood Manor. It was tall and made of dark stone, with ivy creeping up its sides and windows like eyes watching through time. As the car pulled up the gravel path, Evelyn felt her heart beat faster. She had seen this house before, once, long ago, in a dream. She stepped out of the car, and the door opened itself. Chapter 3. Hartwood Manor. As Evelyn followed Mrs. Willow into the house, she was immediately struck by the quiet stillness inside. The air smelled of old wood, dried flowers, and something slightly sweet, perhaps lavender. It was not unpleasant, but it was clear that this house had not been full of life for a long time. The walls were lined with old paintings, and the furniture looked antique yet well kept. A fireplace stood cold and empty, and a large grandfather clock ticked slowly in the hall. Mrs. Willow led her into a sitting room filled with soft light from tall windows. "This was your grandmother's favorite room," she said gently. "She used to sit here every morning with a cup of tea and her books." Evelyn looked around in silence. She felt something deep in her chest, a quiet connection to this place. It was strange. She had never been here before, yet it felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Mrs. Willow brought her tea and explained the basics. She had stayed at Hartwood Manor even after the family left. The estate was kept in quiet order, though no one had visited for many years. Evelyn's grandmother, Margaret Hart, had died nearly a decade ago, and the manor had stood mostly silent since then. That night, Evelyn stayed in an upstairs bedroom. The wind howled outside as she lay in bed, the ceiling high above her. She couldn't sleep. Her mind was full of questions. She took out the leather book again and opened it. The pages were still empty, but she noticed that the map glowed faintly under her lamp. On closer inspection, a small corner of the map had new words written in faded ink. "The truth lies beneath the stone lion." She sat up straight. What stone lion? She didn't know yet, but she intended to find out. Chapter 4. The Library. The next morning, Evelyn explored the manor. She walked down long hallways, through cold dining rooms, and into the dusty old library. The shelves were filled with hundreds of books, some so old their titles had faded away. She pulled out one book and opened it. Inside, she found a letter addressed to her grandmother. The ink was dark blue, the words flowing and elegant. "Margaret, the key must never leave Hartwood. If Evelyn finds this, then destiny is already moving. Keep the library door locked. The stone lion guards the passage." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. She turned around and looked at the tall statue in the corner of the room. A stone lion sat on a low pedestal, its eyes carved with surprising detail. She touched it gently. The stone was cold. She leaned closer and noticed a small crack beneath its paw. Carefully, she pressed it. There was a click. Suddenly, the bookcase behind her moved. Dust filled the air as an opening slowly appeared. Beyond it, a dark staircase led down into the earth. Evelyn hesitated only for a moment. Then, holding her breath, she stepped inside. Chapter 5. The Secret Below. The air was damp and cold as Evelyn made her way down the stone stairs. She lit a candle from a shelf just inside the passage. The flame danced on the walls, casting long shadows. At the bottom of the stairs, she found a large room with stone walls and a long wooden table in the center. Around the table were old papers, glass bottles, and strange instruments. On the wall hung a painting she had never seen before. It showed a woman who looked very much like Evelyn, standing in front of the manor. At the bottom was a name, Eleanor Hart, 1854. "Who were you?" she whispered. She opened a wooden chest at the far end of the room. Inside were more books, letters, and a silver key with a heart engraved on its bow. Tied to the key was a note. The bloodline must remember. The key opens the past. Suddenly she heard a noise behind her, a soft creak. She turned, holding the candle high. A shadow moved in the corner. "Who's there?" she asked, but no one answered. Chapter 6. The Stranger. That evening, Evelyn returned upstairs with the silver key clutched tightly in her hand. The manor felt heavier now, as if the walls themselves were watching her every move. She couldn't shake the memory of the shadow she had seen in the underground room. Was it just her imagination, or was someone else here? Later, as she sat by the fireplace, reading one of the old letters, she heard footsteps outside her bedroom door. They were slow, deliberate, and very close. Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest. She opened the door cautiously. At the end of the hallway stood a man about her age, with dark hair and piercing eyes that seemed both serious and kind. He wore a long coat, and there was an air of mystery about him. "I'm sorry to startle you," he said softly. "My name is Nathaniel Blackwood. I knew your grandmother well." Evelyn narrowed her eyes, unsure if she should trust this stranger. "Why are you here now?" Nathaniel smiled faintly. "I've been waiting for you, Evelyn. Your grandmother promised me that if you ever came to Hartwood, I would help you uncover the truth." Evelyn's curiosity outweighed her caution. "What truth?" Nathaniel looked toward the window, where the moon cast a pale light. "About your family, your legacy, and the secrets they tried to protect from the world." Chapter 7. The Legacy. The next day, Evelyn and Nathaniel wandered through the manor's vast garden. Statues of angels and mythical creatures stood among wild roses and tangled ivy. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled light on the path. Nathaniel pulled out an old leather-bound journal. It belonged to Eleanor Hart, the woman in the painting from the secret room. He read aloud passages about a hidden chamber beneath the manor, a circle of light that guarded a powerful secret, and a promise made to protect it for generations. Your family are not just caretakers of a house, they were guardians of something ancient and powerful, and now that responsibility falls to you. Evelyn felt a weight settle on her shoulders, but also a fierce determination. She wasn't just an ordinary woman from London anymore. She was part of something bigger. Chapter 8. The Chamber of Light. That night, Evelyn took the silver key Nathaniel had given her and searched the manor. Behind the grand fireplace in the main hall, she found a hidden door. The key fit perfectly into the old lock. The door creaked open, revealing a round chamber with a high domed ceiling. At the center stood a crystal sphere resting on a stone pedestal. The air inside was warm and still, filled with a quiet hum. Evelyn stepped forward and placed her hand gently on the crystal. Suddenly, visions filled her mind, images of her ancestors standing guard, the manor through centuries of time, and a glowing light that promised hope and protection. When she removed her hand, the crystal pulsed once, casting a soft glow around the room, then settled into silence. Evelyn understood. She had been chosen to protect this light. Chapter 9. The Fire and the Choice. 2 nights later, during a fierce thunderstorm, lightning struck the ancient oak tree beside the manor. Flames erupted and quickly spread to the west wing. Evelyn and Nathaniel sprang into action. The fire was wild and dangerous. Smoke filled the air, and the floorboards creaked under their feet. Faced with the burning library, Evelyn had to make a heartbreaking choice: save the ancient books that held her family's secrets, or save herself. Without hesitation, she ran inside, coughing through the thick smoke, and grabbed as many books as she could carry. Nathaniel helped her escape just before the ceiling collapsed. The fire was finally controlled by the local fire brigade, but the damage to the manor was severe. Mrs. Willow, standing outside with tears streaming down her cheeks, whispered, "You saved what matters most." Chapter 10. The Light Beyond the Thames. Weeks passed, and the manor slowly began to heal. Evelyn decided to stay, dedicating herself to restoring Hartwood and its legacy. By day, she worked on repairing the library and cataloging the saved books. By night, she wrote in her journal, recording everything she had learned. London felt like a distant memory now. One bright afternoon, Evelyn walked to the edge of the estate and gazed out over the rolling hills. She thought about the letter from her mother, the mysterious key, and the path that had led her here. She was no longer just Evelyn Hart, the project manager from London. She was a Hart of Hartwood, the guardian of stories and keeper of the light. As the sun broke through the clouds, shining across the old stones of the manor, Evelyn smiled. She was finally home.